want to be a woman.
Right.
And so they're even looking at hormone therapy to stop puberty. Tell us some more of what you know about that.
They actually, now there are hormone blockers, basically hormones that stop the onset of puberty, delay the onset of puberty. And of course that'd be something that wouldn't be done until the onset of puberty, but what they're going to do is stop the development of the secondary sex characteristics. For me it's the broad shoulders, for me it's the deep voice, because my voice hasn't changed from the hormones, I just use it differently.
Yeah, and you gave me a little example of that on the video, and you have a very deep male voice, and you've learned to use it in a very feminine way, because you do sound very feminine.
Yeah, and that's just part of being able to be a woman in our society, and not draw too much attention to myself unless I want that to happen. But, you know, the facial hair, all the different things that are going to happen with the onset of puberty that cannot be reversed by...
So if a little girl comes in and says, let's say it's a little girl who feels she's a boy,
Right.
if you give her these hormones, she will not develop breasts like a normal pubescent girl, and she won't start her menses.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if they take it, do I understand it correctly? Then they take it to like the age of 16 or 17, when puberty would normally be over. And what, then start introducing, like for a little girl transitioning male hormones at that time? Or how do you know more about how that works?
First off, if they decide that they aren't, you know, that this isn't the right thing for them to do, they can stop taking a hormone blocker and they will develop exactly the same way they would have if they hadn't taken it before. The decision needs to be a decision that's made with the young person, along with the family and along with the therapist together at the same time. It's not something that should be made for the child.
Absolutely.
The child needs to be a part of that decision process, but the family and the therapist needs to be involved as well.
And that's going to be kind of a hot topic, because we're still talking about minors.
Right.
You know, they're still essentially a minor, you know, if that should even happen. And this has to be, I mean, I was actually, to be honest, very surprised to even find that on the internet. And you said it is a fairly organized society that's coming out.
Well, it's actually comes from the standards of care for transgender people. That comes from the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, and they have the standards of care that physicians and therapists are supposed to follow when it comes to transgender health care. And they just recently released a new set of standards of care, and that doesn't discourage the idea of using hormone blockers.
Well, and I think this, for me, takes us to a point that we definitely want to bring out today, and that's the suicide rate among transgender people. Tell me something about that. Those statistics are tragic.
Yeah, those statistics are horrifying, and you think about what they are, and 41% of transgender people attempt suicide.
41%?
Yeah, that's 25 times the national average. And it's not based on something that's inherent about being transgender, it's just based on our perception that we aren't going to be able to be who we are, that it's too difficult to be able to live and deal with the not being able to be who you are, or the problems that we face when we are, you know, who we are, which, you know, 1 in 5 of us become homeless, 1 in 5 of us are denied basic medical care. The statistics are just horrifying.
You were saying there are some doctors that have been known, if you come in transgender with the flu, they're like, I can't treat you. And I'm like, well, good grief, you know, you treat a male or a female the same for the flu.
Exactly.
So that just shows some sort of a bias or something.
There is. It's just a total, I don't want to deal with this, and I just don't, you know, it's horrible.
And when we talked a little bit on the video outtakes about you actually attended just to see for yourself, and a program at a church called Pray Away the Gay. You said there were about 300 people there, and you can tell us a little more about that. But I also want you to talk about, you know, and I want to say that, and in talking about that, you said that you know there were some people in gay or transgender people in that place that were going to probably want to go out and commit suicide. Tell us what that was about.
Well, it was a church, and I attended this. It was called Developing a Healthy Gender Identity Workshop, And there were like 300 people in this
Well,
church.
and that could even be interpreted to
And it
accept me
actually
for
wasn't
who I
about
am.
gender identity, it was about sexual orientation, which is not at all the same as gender identity. But they were talking about praying away the gay, and about how gay people were, abominations before God, sick, confused people who needed to be fixed, and of course who we are is an abomination before God, not approved by God, and it's a horrifying thing to tell somebody.
And as you looked across that crowd, did you feel you could maybe identify some people there that were struggling internally with this?
Most of the people that were there were nodding their heads up and down, agreeing with everything that was being said. But you could see a few people who were just kind of head down, and I think that statistically there have to be gay people in that group of people. You can't put 300 people in a room without having some gay people. You just can't. And I think seriously that some of those people will reconsider whether or not it's even worth trying to continue to live.
Absolutely, because I can imagine they were there, because I think there certainly, from what I've heard from different people, there's often a moment in a gay person's life, or when they realize they are, or maybe where you are, why am I like this? Why do I have to be like this? Did you have a moment like that too? I've heard that from a number of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not something you choose, and it's so hard.
Yeah, I prayed a long time when I was young. I prayed a lot for God to make me normal. And just because that's what I thought that I was supposed to be, and that there was something wrong with me. For a long time, for most of my life, I believe there was something wrong with me.
And I know you're going to have a program coming up here in Salina, but let me just quickly ask you too, again, off video we were talking about, you've been treated very differently because you lived many years as a man,
right.
And now as a woman. Tell me what some of that's been like.
Well, it was interesting when I was living as a man, and I'd gotten used to the idea that people respected my opinion. And when I started living as a woman, and people were trying to take away that right of validity for my opinion, and I'm kind of like, I don't understand that. I don't understand where this comes from.
Oh, Stephanie, I just have to laugh because being born a woman, I've known this. I've known this my whole career, my whole life.
Yeah. And
what a shock.
Yeah. I mean, because I've seen it from both sides of the fence.
Exactly.
And so it's like, oh my God, I can't believe how we do this, because it is just so unfair to women, and it really is.
That's just such an interesting comment you make, because I'm involved with a number of professional business women in town, and we sometimes that's sometimes what we have to do is we have to talk about how we're treated differently just in business, right, just because we're women.
Oh, yeah.
And it's real, and we can sure talk about it. So tell us again as we close where you're going to be here, and people can come and hear you speak.
Okay, on tomorrow, October the 16th, I'm going to be at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Salina. And I'll be talking in the morning, I think, with their congregation, and then in the afternoon, they are going to have a public forum. I'm not sure about what times, but if you contact the UU, then you should be able to find out.
Well, thanks so much, Stephanie, and thanks so much for coming on. It's been good having you.
Thank you so much.
And this is Joan with the Joan Yurkovich Show, 910 KINA Salina. And be sure again to stay tuned for our next guest. We'll be talking to a mother about her journey, finding out she had a gay son, and you'll want to find out when she heard. I told her, did you fall down the stairs? So listen in for that. This is Joan, 910 KINA Salina. I think we pulled it off. You're so wonderful to talk to. I'm excited to come to your UU thing.
Yeah, I'll tell my whole
glad we got
story
that out. And you were just sharp to just jump right in there and go tomorrow.
Well,
we're recording.
I was kind of hoping I was right.
Yes, you were. I want to give you this thumbs up because we pre-record, and we had people come in and say, "Oh, I'm in the play this weekend." It's like, no, and this will be play will be over by the time that happens.
Right.
So.
Right. Cool.
So you seem happy. You seem.
Oh, I love being alive today. I used to hate being alive.
That's so good. I read your story, and there's a lot of sadness.
There's a lot.
And a lot of
but
struggle and trauma.
The thing of it is today I get to look at, and that's part of the reason why I do the education. There's a number of reasons why, but part of the reason why is because it takes everything that happened to me, everything that brought me up to this place, instead of being something that held me back for 48 years. It becomes something that prepared me to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
It takes away all the power of the torment and the struggle. And because I know now that what I was going through was what was making it possible for me to help other people who go through the same things.
Made you stronger? Is that one of the things?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. People who have survived adversity, I think become stronger. I think it has helped me to be more sensitive to anytime anybody struggles. Whether, for whatever reason, anybody who's marginalized or disenfranchised in our world today, that how unfortunate that is, and how unfortunate it is that we don't take the opportunity to grow by embracing people of different cultures and different classes.
Now, I read somewhere that God only chooses to make people of a certain spirit in your situation, transgender or gay or lesbian, because in some way you have to have a strength of spirit to carry that off, to live through that, to go through that. And I thought that was kind of a, if society could come to accept that, that's almost like a badge of honor. And of course, this was just one author's opinion of it, but you also see so many people who've had this but struggle immensely. Yet for someone like you to give such a ray of hope or acceptance or unconditional love, important. Just like you said, your mother, don't we learn that from our parents?
And that's what Jesus taught too, was unconditional love. And that's, I was blessed that that's what my mom taught me, but that's also what Christianity is about, is unconditional love. No question about that.
Well, thank you again, Stephanie. Very nice to have you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, thank you again.
A big thanks to my listeners for staying tuned in to the Joan Yurkovich Show here on 910 KINA. We're here with our second guest, Beverly Cole, and she's an author and an activist. And this is a good complement to following our transgendered advocate, Stephanie Mott, that you just heard earlier this morning. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about your being an author, about your being an activist, because when I started looking for someone to complement Stephanie's interview, your name came up by everybody in town. You're very well known. Did you know that?
Well, it's interesting because up until the time that I found out that I had a son who was gay, I was just somebody's mom, somebody's wife. I thought, well, when my kids were raised, I was done. I could die tomorrow, and I did what I was here to do. And then I found out that my son Eric was gay, and it opened a whole new can of worms up for me. And so I began to deal with what that meant, and a big part of that was my Christian faith, not that in a bad way. So many people find that a real problem for them because they get tangled up in scriptures and don't know, do I love my child or do I do what I think the scriptures say? But just the fact that my son went to church camp, and when right after I had found out that he was gay, and when he came home, he was quite shaken, and I asked him what the problem was, and he said, "Well, Mom, I don't know if I can be gay and Christian." And he said, "I can."
And was that the first
that
you
was
knew,
a big
or had a
red flag for
sense
me,
that?
and he said, "I can't change being gay, and so I don't know what I'm going to do." Well, so that was the journey that he was going to have to take, but I also had to take that journey as well.
As his mother,
As
and
his mother,
as
and
a
as a
Christian.
Christian.
Now, about how old was he when he came back from camp?
Well, he was 17. They always had church camp right during Christmas vacation. He and his sister always went, and I found out just before, the week before, they were packing to go off to church camp, and so.
You found out that he was gay?
Yes. That he
Oh,
was gay.
how did that happen? Did
Well,
he tell
actually,
you, or?
he was just discovering it himself, and he had planned on waiting till he was gone from home, and had kind of gotten an idea what that meant for him. Before
So he was still in high school at the time?
Yes, he was a junior in high
17.
school, and so anyway, but I happened to overhear a conversation between a friend and him in our basement when I was taking laundry out at the top of the stairs, and his friend said, "You're the only gay person I know who doesn't smoke."
Did you fall down the stairs with the laundry, or
Well,
what really?
I pretty much just froze it, but of course, you always hope that your kids don't smoke for health reasons and all that stuff. And And yet all I could